Anakin stood motionless in the silent office, his eyes fixed on Palpatine's confident smile. "You're offering me forbidden knowledge of the dark side to save Padme?" he asked, his voice tense. "I offer power, my young one," replied the Chancellor, leaning forward. "There are no limits to what we can achieve together." Anakin took a step back. "You are the Sith we've been looking for." Palpatine raised his chin calmly. Anakin clenched his fist. "I will report you to the Jedi Council." Palpatine made no attempt to prevent his departure. He merely followed him with his gaze, like a predator assessing the leap. "Think about what you're rejecting, Anakin," he murmured. "The chance to rewrite destiny." Anakin turned his cloak and replied, "My destiny doesn't belong to your empire of lies." The Chancellor tilted his head. "Then so be it. But remember, when the storm begins, there will be no shelter." "Storms pass," retorted the knight. "Truth remains." He crossed through the door, feeling the force like an electric field about to tear. The corridors of Coruscant seemed longer than ever, illuminated by cold lamps that cast shadows of guard soldiers. Anakin quickened his pace, calling on the communicator. "Obi-Wan is on a mission, but Mace Windu is at the temple," confirmed an officer. "I'll tell him you're coming." Anakin put away the device, his mind spiraling. "Padme, hold on tight," he whispered. The vibrations in the air increased, as if something ancient and hungry awakened in the entrails of the planet city. He climbed into a speeder and departed, cutting through the flow of traffic with urgency. Inside the office, Palpatine dropped the mask of statesman. He walked to a hidden panel and touched codes learned in Nights of Conspiracy. His voice became a whisper of action. "It's time to polish the chains of destiny." The holocom projected the face of a clone commander. "My lord," awaiting instructions. Palpatine raised his hood. "Prepare for the protocol. The keys are aligned. Not before, but very soon." He ended the transmission, breathing shortly, like one holding lightning in the palm. Anakin landed in the Jedi Temple hangar, jumping from the speeder before it came to a complete stop. Padawans directed curious glances. They felt the disturbance, but didn't know its origin. The marble of the stairways reflected Coruscant's metallic sky. Anakin crossed the great atrium and found Mace Windu in conversation with librarians. "Master Windu, I need to speak with you. Now." Mace turned, his brow furrowed. "You're pale, Skywalker. What happened?" Anakin breathed shortly. "The Chancellor is a Sith." The silence that followed seemed to split the air. Mace didn't blink. "Say that again, but with every detail." "He revealed himself," said Anakin. "He offered me the secrets of the dark side to save Padme. Said we could rule." Mace walked slowly in a circle, like one measuring the weight of words. "This confirms the suspicions." "We need to act," insisted Anakin. "Now." Windu called two nearby masters. "Gather the council members who are on Coruscant." Without alarm, he faced Anakin. "You're coming with me. You'll repeat this in the chamber." In the circular corridors, Anakin narrated each phrase, each gesture of the Chancellor. "He didn't try to detain me," he said. "He seemed too confident." Mace nodded. "Confidence or trap. Either way, the Republic is on the edge of an abyss." Arriving at the council chamber, the empty chairs resembled ghosts of ancient decisions. Some members projected themselves via hologram. "Report, Skywalker," asked Plo Koon. Anakin repeated with clarity. "Darth Sidious is in the palace. If we're quick, we end this today." Mace concluded, "I myself will conduct the arrest." "I'm going with you," said Anakin, firmly. Mace stared at him for a long moment. "Your bond with the Chancellor compromised the Council before, but now your information is decisive." Anakin raised his chin. "I owe him nothing." "We'll see," responded Mace. "If your intentions are pure, the Force will sustain you." Yoda through the hollow pondered. "Act with precision we must." Windu nodded. "We'll gather capable and discreet masters." Anakin clung to the decision like a plank in a rough sea. Meanwhile, in the office, Palpatine activated a new transmission, this time on an encrypted war channel. Faces of commanders appeared, grainy from compression. "Senate on alert, my lords," he declared. "The Jedi Order is preparing a coup against the elected authority." A chorus of "understood, sir" emerged cold, disciplined. Palpatine raised his hand. "Codify the secret protocol. Wait for my word. When the night opens its eyes, you'll know." The holograms went out, leaving the office darker than before. Anakin and Mace descended to the level of the internal docks, where discreet armories kept supplies. "If he's the Sith, he'll anticipate our steps," said Mace. "He's already anticipated many," replied Anakin. "But not this one." Mace stopped, turned around. "If he provokes you about Padme, will you keep a cool head?" Anakin faced the master. "I didn't come here for myself." Mace tilted his face. "So be it." They continued, while silent communications ran through the temple's internal channels, summoning guards and closing sectors. In Coruscant's sky, formations of clone ships began to adjust routes, nothing ostentatious, just slight changes in altitude and speed. In barracks, officers received sealed orders, which remained intact in magnetic compartments. In police stations, patrols changed checkpoints, claiming routine exercises. On commercial platforms, citizens noticed columns of transport descending at unusual times. Nothing that isolated seemed alarming. Together, the pieces drew a circle around a single point on the map: the Jedi Temple. In the smaller council chamber, Mace informed those present. "We're going to arrest the Chancellor. Reason: high treason and Sith association." Anakin added, "If we hesitate, he'll move first." Plo Koon through the hollow reinforced, "Caution, but firmness." Mace concluded, "Reduced formation. Skywalker, remain on standby at the temple until my signal." Anakin frowned. "Master, This isn't punishment," Mace cut in. "It's an essential piece. If something happens here, you react." Anakin agreed reluctantly. "Then at least let me reinforce the defenses." "Do it," said Mace, "and keep in contact." They walked to the external balcony, where the wind brought sounds of traffic and distant sirens. Anakin opened a reserve channel. "Patrols in the north sector reposition. Close corridors 3 and 5. Orange codes on the perimeter." Temple guards nodded. Mace observed the horizon. "There are smells of storm." "I felt the same when he spoke my name," murmured Anakin, as if the entire city were a saber about to ignite. Palpatine, with his hood already raised, finally pronounced the phrase that sealed decades of conspiracy. "Commanders, execute Order 66. The confirmation came in metallic echoes. "Yes, my lord." In barracks, sealed capsules opened. In helmets, instructions pulsed like hammer blows. In programmed hearts, a cold flame ignited. Transport columns suddenly changed course, cutting through the luminous mist toward the great esplanade of the temple. The office closed in satisfied silence, like a mouth that finishes prayer. In the temple, Anakin interrupted his speech on the communicator, his eyes narrowing. "Did you feel that?" he asked Mace. "Like a cut in the Force." Mace brought his hand to his wrist transmitter. "All sentinels, immediate reports." Overlapping voices exploded on the channels. Heavy movement in the west sector. Transports descending without warning. Military codes don't recognize temple protocols. Anakin walked to the edge of the balcony. "This isn't routine." Mace clenched his jaw. "He got ahead of us." The two advanced down the steps to the great balcony that dominated the avenue. The bluish mist of Coruscant's evening opened like a veil, revealing columns of clones emerging from the turbine fog. Entire platoons disembarked in perfect order, armed, silent, marching toward the stairways. "General Skywalker, units request passage for inspection," crackled a voice on the distant loudspeaker with false neutrality. Anakin exchanged a glance with Mace. "Inspection?" he repeated, incredulous. Mace activated his saber with a purple crack. "They can call it inspection, but the truth is something else." Anakin brought his hand to his own saber, without igniting it yet, feeling the familiar vibration of metal against his palm. "They're spreading out on the flanks," he said. "They want to surround the accesses." Mace looked at the endless row of white helmets. "Send total alert. Make it sound for every knight, every Padawan, every guardian." Anakin nodded, already connecting to the temple's master channel. "Code Onyx. Maximum attention. All positions on defense. I repeat, total defense." The response came like thunder of voices, and before them the troops continued to approach. Mace raised the transmitter on his wrist and his voice took over the temple. "Outer circle at the stairway level. Shields to the front. Temple guards with me." Anakin responded through the master channel. "Close the internal routes and evacuate the young ones to the shelters." They exchanged a quick glance, understanding they had gained only a few moments. "We won't be caught unprepared," said Anakin. "We'll lead." Mace nodded, the purple saber flickering. "Lead, protect, and win." On the balcony, the rows of clones adjusted their pace, DC-15 locks clicking in unison. The officer at the front raised a megaphone. "By order of the Senate, lower your weapons." Anakin took a step forward. "This is Knight Skywalker. This is the Jedi Temple. Retreat and explain the reason for this mobilization." The white helmet turned its head as if it were strange to hear refusal. "Special security protocol." Mace approached low. They didn't come to dialogue. The rifles rose like a tide of metal. "Now!" shouted Windu, and the blades ignited like a violent sunrise. The first shot streaked through the air and the defense began. Inside, a Jedi extended a holographic map. "East Wing is vulnerable." Mace Windu responded, "Golden guards with me. Padawans behind me." A group of youngsters trembled, and Anakin arrived through the comlink. "Trust us. Follow the masters and keep your heads up." A girl asked, "Master Skywalker, there are allies. Why?" Anakin didn't lie. "Because someone pressed a command that makes them forget who we are." Mace Windu clenched his fist. "And because someone is afraid of what we can still be." At the edge of the esplanade, Mace and Anakin advanced in sync. "Cut their command lines," said Mace. "I'm going to take down the radio beacons." Anakin jumped, spinning, returning shots with tempered precision. Each return taking down a sergeant, a lieutenant, a mortar aimer. "Don't shoot the heroes," yelled the officer, confused to see the formation break. "They're not heroes, they're traitors." Mace struck the floor with his boot and saw, in the crack, the fissure of the weak point. A tank marching over a narrow walkway. "Now, Skywalker." Anakin pulled the structure with the force and the tank toppled, creating a barricade. The comlink hissed with Yoda's reduced voice, coming from Kashyyyk. "Shadow, great it is. Clones, against us they turned." Anakin responded urgently, "Master, we're defending the temple. Don't return to Coruscant. It's surrounded. Live you must. Warn the others also you must." Mace took the channel. "Master Yoda will hold the sanctuary. Gather safe contacts. If we fall, the flame must continue." Yoda sighed shortly. "Resist you must." "We'll do what's necessary," said Anakin, closing the channel with a wave. A trembling transmission came from the other side of the galaxy. "Obi-Wan here. What's happening?" The sound was swallowed by static and long shots. "General Kenobi, your clones." The pilot's voice cut. "They've turned." Anakin spoke loudly. "Obi-Wan, get out of there." Mace completed. "Go to the sublevel. Dive into the water conduits and lose them in the cave." The response came between echoes. "Understood. If I survive, I'll find you on Coruscant, or anywhere that still remains." Anakin murmured, "May the Force be with you, Master." And, from the other side was heard, "And with you." Gunships poured squadrons onto the roofs, black ropes cutting through the air. Mace led a charge on the flank. "With me, Temple Guards." The blades swept cables and hooks, making soldiers fall before touching the stone. Anakin raised his hand and created an arc of wind, dispersing grenades before they exploded. "They want reactors and archives," he said. "Whatever they want, they won't have it." responded Mace, advancing. A platoon tried to plant a signaling flag. Anakin pulled it and drove it into the ground. Reversed. This place won't fall easily. The galaxy, however, screamed with losses almost simultaneously. Far from Coruscant, Ki-Adi-Mundi turned upon hearing footsteps, and the clones shot him from behind. His saber fell in the ruby snow. Plo Koon fell with his fighter in flames, asking the air, "Why?" On smaller worlds, nameless knights fell in the dust, some still saying, "Wait," when the last shot was already coming. Inside the temple, Mace Windu guided a column of youngsters through secret passages. This way, through the hidden corridor of the archive. A Padawan asked, "And Master Anakin?" He responded, "He fights so you can pass." Anakin arrived at the junction with glow in his gaze. Sin closed the doors after the last group. Sindralig tilted his head. "I'll hold Corridor 3. "I'll cover 1 and 2, responded Anakin. "And Mace the terrace." Mace Windu touched Anakin's shoulder. "Guard your heart where Palpatine tried to wound it." "He won't have it," said Anakin. Windu opened an internal channel. "Delta and Epsilon teams with me on Roof 4. We need to take down their fire directors." Anakin, "I'm going to cut the jam that's blinding our sensors." Mace pondered for a second. "Go, but take 2 guards. They'd slow me down. Then don't die." Anakin smiled without joy. "I don't intend to." He jumped through the window amid shards, fell on a lower roof and ran to the antenna that pulsed interference, blue saber grinding against the metallic casing. The antenna exploded in sparks and, for an instant, the temple's radars cleared. "Signal open for a few seconds," announced a technician. Mace spoke on the free channel. "All Jedi who hear me, this is a message from the temple. We've been attacked by our own troops. Fall back to safe shelters or disappear." Repeating, "Disappear." A crackle cut the band and the noise returned to swallow everything. Anakin slid on the edge, held on, and climbed back up, panting. "Did it make a difference?" he asked. "For some, quite a bit," said Mace, shooting down a rocket jet with a purple arc. In the crossfire, a clone captain approached up the steps, the megaphone still in hand. "General Skywalker, your records prove loyalty to the Republic. Help us contain the traitors." Anakin descended a step, his voice firm. "Whoever called them traitors lied to you. We received orders from the Chancellor." "The Chancellor is a Sith." The captain hesitated half a beat, then raised his rifle again, the programming squeezing tighter than doubt. Mace appeared beside Anakin. "There's no negotiation." "I know," said Anakin, and the two swept the stairway to open space for the evacuees. More news arrived like blades. "Master Yoda escaped an ambush on Kashyyyk," informed one of the Jedi, almost in a whisper. "He beheaded the commanders and disappeared into the forest." Anakin breathed through his nose. "And Obi-Wan?" "No signal. But a local report says a general fell in the water on Utapau and wasn't found." Mace closed his eyes for an instant. "If anyone knows how not to be found, it's Kenobi." Anakin pressed the transmitter on his belt. "He'll survive. Believe we must," said Yoda's distant voice on the short channel. "Together we still are, even hidden." The pressure on the perimeter increased. Cannons began to grind the stone edge of the terrace. "If we stay here, they'll wear us down," said Anakin. Mace spun his saber, thoughtful. "Strike the brain we must. The command centers are on the ships there and there." He pointed to 2 gunships acting as tactical nodes. "I'll take a team through the lower ducts and exit under the platform," said Anakin. "You keep the front alive." Mace raised his chin. "I'll hold, you cut." They touched forearm to forearm, agreement sealed in fire. Anakin dove into the ducts with 2 guards, following maintenance rails to the shadow of the gunships. He attached a hook, climbed, opened the hatch with the force and entered a gale of alarm and metallic voices. "Whose?" was all the operator said before the blue saber cut the command panel. He threw pulse detonators at the converters, adjusted the time and jumped back, pulled by the explosion that made the gunship wobble and fall in a spiral. The second node tried to take off. Anakin threw the anchor and pinned it to the edge, bringing it down with the weight of the machine itself. On the terrace, Mace saw the explosions and smiled briefly. "Good work, Skywalker." He advanced with a small group of masters and guards, creating a breathable corridor. "Remove 2 more groups of youngsters and take them to the north ventilation tunnel." Sindralig responded, "Understood." Anakin returned, dirty with soot. "We're holding for now." Mace assessed the sky, where new silhouettes emerged. "For now we'll have to suffice. Leadership is ours, the heart is theirs." Anakin raised his saber to face level. "Then we'll keep both beating." And, to the sound of sirens and footsteps, the temple's defense continued, cohesive, determined, sharp as a single blade. When the last cannon of the clones fell silent at the foot of the temple and the survivors were led to the shelters, Mace and Anakin retreated to the broken balcony and looked at the Star City of Coruscant glowing under the veil of smoke. "We won here, but the real war is in the heart of power," said Windu, putting away his saber. "He won't stay hidden, Master. He'll try to capture the Senate through words," responded Anakin, following the instinct that Palpatine would speak on planetary network to seal the narrative of the Jedi coup. "Then we'll catch him where he believes he's invincible," concluded Mace, already opening discreet channels. "Spread word that the Chancellor will speak to the Senate at sunset. When he finishes, we'll go just the 2 of us." Windu stopped before Anakin, serious, and the hardness in his eyes gave way to a rare recognition. "Skywalker, if it weren't for you discovering that Palpatine is a Sith, and if you hadn't led the defense with firmness, lost we would be, us and the Republic." Anakin held his gaze. "I just corrected an error I began to make when I trusted the wrong person." Mace placed his hand on his forearm. "Today you chose right." Anakin nodded. "Today we chose together. And together we'll finish," completed Windu, before they departed for the infiltration. The session opened with protocol trumpets and holocamera drones floating like glass fireflies. Palpatine appeared intact, his face smooth, his mantle impeccable, no scar denouncing the creature underneath. "Senators, today we were betrayed," he said, and the dome's acoustics returned, his voice multiplied. "The Jedi Order attempted to usurp elected authority, attacking me in my own office." From the galleries, Anakin saw Padme standing, her hand gripping the railing, and beside her was Bail Organa, his face closed, his gaze oscillating between indignation and calculation. "She's here," murmured Anakin. "Don't lose sight of her, but don't let her guide your saber," advised Mace, fixed on the speaker. "To ensure stability," continued Palpatine, "we will transform this republic into a first galactic empire, safe and enduring." Part of the dome exploded in applause. Another part rose shouting, and news feeds transmitted the phrase to every district of Coruscant. Anakin clenched his fists. "He's numbing the entire city with a story written in our people's blood." Mace kept his tone calm. "After the speech, he goes to the private chambers. There'll be no chorus, no protocol shields. There, it ends," said Anakin, and for the first time the words sounded like a promise. When the session was suspended, Palpatine withdrew through a corridor padded with silent senatorial guard soldiers. Mace and Anakin descended by a service stairway and cut behind acoustic panels to the consultation antechamber, a low cylinder with panels that muffled sound and private recording fields. The door opened with a gesture from Windu, and the Chancellor turned, surprised first, then smiling like one who recognizes an old game. "Skywalker, Master Windu, what audacity to appear here." Anakin responded without detours. "It's over, my lord. Your orders betrayed the Republic." Palpatine tilted his head. "Or saved it from fanaticism." The air vibrated when the Chancellor's mantle fell, and the red saber crackled in a line of fire. Mace raised the purple and advanced in controlled Vapad, sucking the darkness and redirecting it. Anakin spun on the flank, fast as blue lightning. Palpatine attacked with surgical precision, seeking Mace's guard and, at the same time, stitching provocations for Anakin. "Think of Padme, boy. Only I can." The blue cut the phrase, forcing him to retreat. "Talking about her to break me won't work," returned Anakin. Mace pushed, the rhythm increasing, the sound of blades like a broken bell echoing in the muffled chamber. Sidious changed tactics. A step, a twist, a reverse strike, and then lightning from fingers, which Mace returned in a purple parabola, cracking the acoustic ceiling. "Enough tricks," said Windu, applying pressure. Anakin jumped from behind, trapped Sidious's guard between his own blade and Mace's, and in a coordinated movement, improvisation born of many battles, twisted the Sith's wrist, tearing away his saber. The red weapon flew and stuck in a panel. Palpatine retreated, hands raised, his face finally revealing the monster behind the statesman's mask. "Mercy," he begged. "I can save her. Your wife, the child." Anakin pressed his saber to the Chancellor's neck, the bluish hum trembling a thread from flesh. "You threw the galaxy against itself, killed our brothers and sisters, manipulated my fears." Palpatine kept his voice low, hypnotic. "And even so, your pain is great. Bring me what remains of the Jedi and Padme will live to see grandchildren." Mace spoke without trembling. He declared himself emperor before the Senate. He cannot be left alive. The silence of a heartbeat fit entirely in the chamber. Anakin's strike was clean, final, cutting the head of the serpent before the mouth could spit another poison. The body fell in a sigh of mantle, and for a second the Force seemed to untie a knot that strangled space. Mace collected his saber, grave eyes. "You chose duty, even though it tore pieces from your heart." Anakin closed his fist beside the body. "I chose truth. He would never save who I love. He'd only use her to enslave me." "Then let's save something greater than ourselves," said Windu. "Let's save the galaxy's very trust." Acting as shadows before the echo of death reached the corridors, they coupled the security module to the chamber's table and extracted encrypted records. Order 66 instructions, lists of hidden payments, conversations with separatist generals, the entire mask of the Sith project. "Send redundant copies to 3 independent media nodes," guided Mace. Anakin called R2, D2 through the Senate channel, and the small astromech silently assumed the task, spreading the packages like seeds in fertile soil. The extraordinary hearing was opened immediately, with the auditorium still hot from the previous speech. Mace took the podium, and the hologram projected the orders signed by the Chancellor, the execution protocols, the attack maps on the temple. "Treason is not supposition. It's documentation," he stated. Bail Organa stood. "I request complete reading of the annexes and suspension of all emergency powers." Padme raised her voice, firm. "I request open inquiry into military manipulation of the Senate and protection for Jedi witnesses." Anakin climbed beside Windu and faced the dome. "I knew the man who hid behind that mantle. He promised me cures in exchange for my soul. Today, I deny that bargain in my name and in all of ours." The packages jumped from station to station. The press turned over wounds, and senators who applauded minutes before fell silent upon seeing the red seal of Order 66 with Palpatine's own signature. "I propose immediate vote to revoke the war accords and dissolve the title of Supreme Chancellor, returning to the previous model," said Organa. Yoda's voice emerged in discreet projection, the small body outlined by green light. "Reborn, the Republic can. Revenge, avoid we must. Justice, seek we must." The plenary, in rare unanimity, approved the revocation. Senate guards laid down weapons, and commands to clones entered review under new civilian supervision. Days later, in a smaller and quieter session, the Jedi Council reconvened its seats. Obi-Wan returned through a side corridor, tired, alive, his usual smile cutting through exhaustion. "Apparently, I missed the noisy part," he joked. Mace looked at Anakin before the windows. "Skywalker, for your courage in denouncing Sidious, for leading the defense of our sanctuary, for having refused the seduction of fear, the Council recognizes you as Jedi Master and definitive member." Obi-Wan approached, proud. "It's more than deserved, Anakin." He breathed with conviction. "I swore to protect, and I will protect." On the Senate balcony, Padme rested her forehead against Anakin's, with Bail Organa discreetly distant, watching the avenue where the crowd sang the return of the Republic. "I believed I would lose you," she confessed. And I feared losing you and losing myself together, responded Anakin. But I heard you even when I was far away, and I heard our children. She smiled, a hand on her belly. Then listen once more. Come home today, just as Anakin. I will, he promised, while above them, the dome reflected a Coruscant sky that, for some moments, seemed less heavy. The following months were of repair, of mourning, and of law. The Senate opened commissions. The clones had their protocols audited. Sector leaders returned powers taken in panic. The temple erected in stone and silence received candles for the fallen, and youngsters who escaped returned like stubborn seeds. Mace looked at Anakin. There's much work, and there's enough hope, responded the new master. When the apartment lights went out that night, Anakin watched Padme fall asleep with peace he hadn't seen in weeks, and let the distant hum of Coruscant be just background music. He thought of Qui-Gon Jinn, of Obi-Wan, of Yoda, of all who had fallen because of a lie too long. We cut it, he whispered, remembering the blue arc that silenced the imposter. Now we'll plant something else. R2, D2 beeped softly from the balcony, as if agreeing, and the city, which had almost been devoured, breathed with them. Padme survived. The Republic breathed. And the Order, marked but guided by masters and by a Skywalker who finally chose the light, began to be reborn.